a number of different Republicans, I'm guessing this is before this week, some of it during previous campaign primaries, and I think maybe a couple of them might be a little bit more recently, but essentially a number of different Republicans expressing their disdain or their disagreement with the concept of tariffs. And so I think if you've been paying attention this week, Trump did level a number of tariffs on a number of countries around the world. It's unclear, at least to me, why he's doing this. I've heard a number of different justifications. I think I even heard the annexation of Canada was one of the reasons why he wanted to level tariffs against Canada, which I think are not included in this most recent round of tariffs. But anyway, I think I just want to go ahead and get these guys on the screen and just go ahead and play what they have to say, and then I'll just chime in accordingly.
Tariff is a tax on Americans. A tariff isn't paid by the exporter. China's not going to pay the tariff. The buyer is going to pay the tariff.
No.
That's the most important thing to point out. So I don't know if Donald Trump is woefully ignorant and doesn't know that the country does not pay the tariff that is going to be paid for by the purchaser, the buyer, the consumer of the products that are being purchased. I don't know if he doesn't know that, or he knows it, but he goes out in front of the camera and looks straight in the face of the American people and say that which is not true, which is also known as lying. I'm not sure what's happening there.
Trump has proposed a 40% tariff, which is a tax on all of you. I think raising your taxes by 40% would kill jobs all across this country.
I never agree with anything Ted Cruz has to say, but I definitely agree with that because, again, when you look at what a tariff is and who's having to pay for it, it's going to be people like me. If I buy a product from China, if I buy an iPhone, which I'm an Android user, but just using it as an example, then I'm having to pay more to purchase that iPhone since it was made in China. And so that money that I would have otherwise had is going to the federal government. So that's a tax.
Never agreed with the president's tariff policy. And that's why I do call him and I say, Mr. President, I need to talk to you about these tariffs. And he will come back and he'll say, oh, Joni, I know that you don't like tariffs, but I'm a tariff guy.
Taxing European
I think that might be one that was a little bit more recent.
Car imports hurts BMW because they can do the same thing to us. China wins when we fight with Europe. China wins when the American consumer has higher prices because of tariffs that don't affect Chinese behavior.
Now with a 10% tariff laid down, who pays that tariff? The American workers and the American companies pay the brunt of all those. So far, Americans have paid $12 billion in tariffs.
And so the thing that I don't know when this was written or when he spoke these words, but whatever amount of money that we spend on tariffs is money that's not going into the economy. And so the reason why this is so rich is because Republicans have typically been the free trade party and the party of less taxes. So I'm just wondering why they're so quiet now. Like they were very bold and boisterous back whenever this came out, but I haven't heard many of them these last couple of days.
It's not punishing the Chinese, it's punishing us.
You know, the highest tariff levels in the history of this country, the Smoot-Hawley tariffs, were enacted, and it shut down world trade. There's little doubt that these protectionist barriers that were put up in 1930 or 31 made the Great Depression worse. So let's not repeat that mistake.
And see, this is the thing. When you elect someone like Donald Trump, he told everyone who's going to do this. No one said anything while he was running on the Republican side. And the thing is, this is a person who he's not a student of history. So he just mentioned the Smoot-Hawley Act from, the 30s or 40s. I can't remember exactly when it took place, but he did mention how it exacerbated the Great Depression. You think Trump knows that? Do you think there are people in his ear telling him that and he's actually listening?
Hope that our administration is looking at ways to expand and grow opportunities for American businesses and farmers and ranchers and not get us into this tit-for-tat trade war with some of these countries, even China.
A generalized
And see, that's the other part. We do exporting as well. So what ends up happening is when we put tariffs down and other countries put tariffs on us, which does impact our exports. And so if you produce a product in the United States and now is going to sell less in other countries. So that's impacting those jobs right there, right here in the United States.
Tariff that would actually harm allies, harm American consumers, by the way. And again, if we start engaging in trade wars, I just don't believe anybody wins a trade war, quite honestly. I just think there's so much collateral damage. I think it's a very risky and dangerous strategy.
I'm much more of a free trader. I have worry about retaliation against our products that certainly we have a lot of in Wyoming. So I'm focused on the businesses here at home, the impact of trade, and the impact of tariffs, which I have concerns about, and specifically the retaliation that may come as a result of this new announcement.
Strong trade relationships, particularly with Canada and Mexico, are primary drivers of our nation's economy. We must protect those relationships and be careful as we consider changes in our approach.
So, for instance, Canada came out and said they're going to put a 25% surcharge on, I think it was New York and Minnesota and Michigan, different states that they sell energy to. They didn't have plans to do this prior to Trump imposing tariffs. So if you live in those states and you're purchasing energy that derives from Canada, your bill just went up by 25% for no fucking reason other than Trump is being stupid.
Trade to be certain that Americans continue to benefit from the economic opportunities that have created by a strong trade policy.
All right, so that's the end of that. So I think the striking thing here is I think the GOP has been very vocal in their opposition to tariffs, but right now they're being very silent when the tariffs that Trump has implemented is killing the Dow Jones, killing the S&P 500, fucking up 401ks, fucking up stock portfolios. Already jobs are being laid off. We saw Whirlpool. We saw some automakers laying off people. It's only going to get worse. And the thing that we've learned about, and it's also going to have an inflationary aspect because companies that are sourcing parts or either whole components or parts of things from other countries, and they have to pay these tariffs, they're going to kick that down to the consumer. And we already know what happens. Once they raise prices, they don't go backwards. So think about when COVID happened. Okay, we had all of these supply chain disruptions because people couldn't go to work because people were getting sick. And so prices went up because there was less supply with the same amount of demand. Okay, as time went on and people started going back to work and the supply chains got back to normal, prices didn't come down. Prices didn't come down. Businesses knew, like, hey, we got you to pay for this shit now at this level, even though it's costing us less now. And now we're producing things in abundance. We're still not dropping prices. So what do you think is going to happen once these tariffs kick in and businesses start increasing their prices to account for them? And then Trump or someone around them, makes him come to his senses. And then he kills the tariffs, but the prices are up. You think they're going to just, out of the kindness of their heart, just drop the prices back down? I don't think so. So, yeah, I think bottom line is, we expect in a partisan environment that we're in right now, we expect the Democrats to have criticism of anything that Trump does, and just like we expected the Republicans to have criticism of anything that Biden did. Unfortunately, that's where we are as a society. But we see that Republicans have criticism for tariffs, but they're being very fucking silent. And that's sad because everything that they said is true. That is going to impact our economy and the worker. Why aren't these elected officials standing up for their constituents that this is going to have a negative impact on?